No, they'd probably be better off, actually. In fact, for the reasons you mentioned internet, phone, the ability to communicate. Back then, it was a lot harder to communicate with people, unless you had carrier pigeons or something like that. So, and certainly mass communication, where it was kind of centralized. You had to rely on the editor, the editors of newspapers. Like no different than it is now. Although it's a little easier, arguably, to get around some of that through just the back channels on the internet that are less known, but again, no different than it was back then when you had to do pamphlets and so on. So, but as far as like the idea of having delivery trucks and other mechanization technology, yeah, I would argue that's actually a better situation. The infrastructure is here. I mean, the only thing that goes away in the case of getting rid of the US dollar, the only thing that goes away is the illusion of wealth. That's it. Your house doesn't disappear into a puff of smoke. Your cars don't just vanish overnight. The roads and bridges, for the roads and bridges people, don't just evaporate, right? Like they don't just vanish into the ether. That's not how any of that works. Well, no, what happens is that the currency goes away, and people then have to figure out how they're going to be able to transact with one another. And that is a natural market force. That's people learning to transact, and then they find out what something's worth and what something's not worth. That's how quick, trust me, people figure things out very quickly. What's holding all of this together now is just fear of the unknown, and fear of the government people, actually the goons, the low-grade morons that the politicians keep hiring to enforce all their stupidity. That's all that people fear. So, in fact, if the American people were armed as heavily as they should be, then there would be very little to fear from the goons. The goons would fear the people. That's just how it would work. They would be very terrified. If the average American owned Javelin rocket launchers and Stinger missiles and, all the stuff that they should be owning, then, then governments tend to stop taxing you. In fact, if you want equality, nobody wants equality. You all want to be better than each other. That's the whole point of all the clans that you guys do. But if you wanted true equality, then you want equality of armaments. That is the fastest way to maintain freedom. Only when people become the freest is when they are just as armed as every military. Then freedom actually becomes a thing, and people are at liberty to do whatever it is that they want, assuming that they're not maybe violating the rights of somebody else or violating their own conscience, because there's two laws on the planet, physics and conscience. And, so you have to kind of deal with yourself, because wherever you go, there you are, right? So, yeah, I would argue that we would be way better off, and it wouldn't take that long. I would say that within within about 90 to 180 days in the U.S., assuming that we cut off, because again, you have to just let all the other countries fail and deal with all their problems. In the U.S., I would say within 90 to 180 days, there would be a new monetary type system, or new monetary units, which you're after a unit of measurement. That's what you're after. You're not really trying to create a so-called system. I know all the clans love to, we want to have a system for this, and you don't really need a system. You just need an accurate unit of measurement, and then you will find out that you don't need to have systems and controls and all that stuff just kind of goes away. You don't need it if you have honest measurements. So, and that's all money is. It's supposed to be a unit of measurement that doesn't change and that nobody has control over. But like I said, this is the problem. All the clans want control over printing money, over the issuance of currency and credit. They want to control that, because if you control that, you control the world. That is a true statement. So, yeah, so if the dollar hegemony goes away, now you could say that, well, somebody else will come up with something else. Yeah, that there's already a lot of stuff on deck. This isn't like the old days. There are a lot of technologies that are already on deck. You can always default back to physical gold as well, assuming people are smart enough to know what gold they're actually dealing with, if it is, weight and content, purity and so on. So anyway, People they'd figure it out very quickly. As with the younger people, they'll figure it out very quickly. Unfortunately, there is a lot of ill education that exists out there, but younger people will figure it out when they can't buy the latte or the avocado toast, because it's all about lattes and avocado toast apparently. They figure out how to pay for it, or they learn to make it themselves. Kind of how that works. So I have every confidence that Americans can figure it out on their own, and they won't need to have a bunch of crazy government, a bunch of ridiculous mega corporations that can't survive, without all kinds of subsidies. Yeah, and they'll figure it out.